Welcome back, America. Senator Tom Cotton of Arkansas joins me. Good morning, Senator. Welcome back. Always good to talk to you.
Good morning, Hugh. It's good to be on with you.
How do you react to President Trump's blowout win last night in Iowa?
Well, Hugh, congratulations to President Trump for a decisive, historic victory. As you know, I support the president. I endorsed him a few weeks ago. I think it's going to be a clear contrast between two defined records. This is going to be an unusual presidential race in which you don't have one candidate making promises about what they would do, or what they might do, or what they will do. You simply have to compare the track records. Under President Trump, we had low inflation, we had strong economy, rising working class wages, our border was secure, and we were respected and feared in the world. Under Joe Biden, everything's gone to hell. And I think most Americans, when it comes time to cast a vote in November, are going to vote for what they know will happen under President Trump, because it's what they had for 4 years before Joe Biden came along and started ruining everything.
Senator Cotton, Nikki Haley, and Governor DeSantis are carrying on. Do you think they have a path?
Well, Hugh, after last night's decisive and historic victory, it's frankly hard to see it. I mean, they ran a strong race. As President Trump said, he congratulated them last night on strong races. The people in New Hampshire are going to have their say, but I've been in New Hampshire a lot, Hugh, and I have to tell you, Donald Trump is very strong in New Hampshire as well. And from that point, it only gets stronger for President Trump when he comes to my neck of the woods, South Carolina first, and then the rest, or much of the South, on the Super Tuesday state. So I think after last night's decisive victory, the writing is on the wall here, and we're ready to take on Joe Biden as a unified Republican Party.
No, I hate to do this to you, but I want to play for you a little bit of Rachel Maddow because it is emblematic of the meltdown on the left. Last night on MSNBC, cut number 4.
The big picture takeaway from that, and I don't mean to be, again, too dark, as you said, on this, but it is not, if we are worried about the rise of authoritarianism.
Stop right there. Senator Cotton, every time I hear a left-winger, I mean a hard left-winger like Rachel, bring up authoritarianism or dictatorship, I wrote about this in Fox News this weekend, they have no faith in the Constitution. They are inventing a bogeyman. What do you make of such incredibly incendiary and actually kind of stupid remarks?
Well, Hugh, first off, I just want to say, inflicting upon me the first 8 seconds of Rachel Maddow that I've ever listened to may end our long relationship in this radio program.
I'm sorry.
Second, let's think about what Rachel Maddow and Joe Biden and all these Democrats and lefties in the media might mean when they talk about the rise of authoritarianism or dictatorship. Could it be, I don't know, trying to imprison your chief political opponent? Could it be using the Department of Justice to prosecute and really persecute ideological opponents like Christians praying outside abortion clinics? Maybe using the Department of Justice to protect your own family cronies from due process of law. Maybe it's ignoring courts to reward your political coalition. Is that what they mean Donald Trump's going to do? Oh, no, wait, that's exactly what Joe Biden has been doing for the last 3 years. So as always, these crazed left-wingers who are making these fantastical allegations about Donald Trump are really projecting, as the psychologists say. They are accusing Donald Trump of things that they have already been doing.
I agree with that. By the way, I have a column today on why the evangelicals voted overwhelmingly for Trump at Fox News, and it simply it's not because they believe he's ordained by God, though there are certainly some evangelicals, a small number, who will say that. It's because, generally speaking, people of faith have a good sense of right and wrong and of fair play and especially of due process. And I think most Americans, whether they're people of faith or not, have a great sense of fair play because we watch the NFL and we always know when calls are screwed up, like the poor Browns got hosed on the interference call on David Njoku that didn't get called, but I digress. We know fair play. This is not fair. Jack Smith isn't fair. Letitia Smith isn't fair. Fannie Willis isn't fair. The guy in Manhattan is not fair. None of it is Senator Cotton. I think an American, especially evangelicals, understand that.
I think any fair-minded observer, which certainly would include almost all evangelicals, can see that the left is once again trying to do anything to include anti-democratic, anti-constitutional measures to stop Donald Trump. You mentioned some of these prosecutions. It's come to light in just the last week that Fannie Willis, the prosecutor in Atlanta, apparently was paying her lover hundreds of thousands of dollars to be a special prosecutor to go after Donald Trump, and then using that money herself to benefit herself on luxury vacations and other stuff. And then she gets up a few days ago and claims it's racism and sexism that they're criticizing her when she also paid other special prosecutors. Well, yeah, but apparently she wasn't sleeping with the other special prosecutors. Or take Jack Smith. In both of these cases, he is stretching the law on questions of first impression aggressively to go after Donald Trump with a single-minded fanaticism of putting him in prison before the election and asking the Supreme Court to go along with him as well. So it's a heads I win, tails you lose to the Democrats. Either they side with Jack Smith, or if they don't, then Dick Durbin and Chuck Schumer will go attack them for being a partisan institution. Look at what's happened in Colorado and Maine, where you had partisan state actors kicking Donald Trump off the ballot because they're afraid he might win if he's on the ballot. So it's always been the case, going back to 2015, that Donald Trump's opponents on the left will resort to anti-democratic, anti-constitutional measures to do anything to stop him. I mean, they're to the point now, they're so far around the bend, they're saying that it would be a subversion of democracy if Donald Trump wins the Democratic election this November.
Last night, Senator Cotton, MSNBC wholly refused to carry the former president's victory speech, and CNN cut it off when he began to talk about the border. This is rank censorship. This is not news organizations. What do you make of those two decisions?
Well, again, it's just a perfect example of what we're talking about, Hugh, is that they'll use any kind of technique, any kind of unprecedented action to avoid a Donald Trump victory in November. If Ron DeSantis or Nikki Haley had won last night, of course they would have carried their speech. Certainly they carried speeches by people like Barack Obama or Hillary Clinton in 2008 whenever they had a spirited primary. But they won't let Donald Trump go on their network to speak because they will resort to any tactic to avoid a Donald Trump victory. I mean, if Donald Trump wins in November, are they going to cut away from his inaugural address? Are they going to cut away for 4 years from his States of the Union? Now, the good news is that since MSNBC and CNN only have tens and tens of viewers, that not that many people were affected by their decision, but it shows their mindset.
Now, I want to switch, if I can, Senator, to the important issue of context. Last night, as Iowans were caucusing, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard attacked facilities in Iraq in Erbil, variously labeled as belonging to Mossad or to the American intelligence community or to Iraqis. I don't care. The IRGC attacked a sovereign state with ballistic missiles. President Biden said nothing last night. I think this context is going to envelop. I think it's a 10-7 election, not a 1-6 election. What do you think?
Well, I certainly think it's true that more Americans care a lot more about the dangers they see in the world, whether it's Iran shooting ballistic missiles across international borders or Hamas, committing the worst kinds of atrocities against Israelis than they are about the Capitol riot. I think what you've seen, and again, we don't know for sure what the target was, and we can wait to determine that, but it's just a perfect example of how Joe Biden's weakness and indecision and half measures have failed totally to protect Americans. And we saw it last week when we had very limited pinprick strikes against a bunch of goat herders in Yemen who somehow found land attack cruise missiles and one-way drones to use against American ships. Where do we think they got those? They got that know-how from Iran. And what have they done since then? They were right back at it. So obviously, as I suspected and suggested at the time, Joe Biden did not scare these rebels in Yemen straight. All he did is embolden them, and he further emboldened the Ayatollahs to start launching, again, ballistic missiles across international borders. The only thing that's going to put an end to these attacks on Americans and our friends and partners in the region is a devastating strike against Yemen, and increasingly it looks like it will have to be against Iranians as well.
This is what President Biden said yesterday before the Iranian Revolutionary Guard launched ballistic missiles at bases in Iraq. Cut number 22.
I've already delivered the message to Iran. They know not to do anything.
He said, I've already delivered the message to Iran. They're not going to do anything. Of course, they did something. We also have, and are praying for, 2 SEALs who are missing this morning. They had to board, along with other members of their company, a Yemen-bound Iranian missile shipment, and 2 are missing at sea. If anyone can survive 48 hours at sea. It's a couple of SEALs, but prayers for them. He's not deterred them, Senator Cotton. People don't understand. Iran might be making a conscious choice for regional war, and the appeasers around the president and an infirm president do not seem to be aware of that possibility.
No, so far from deterring them, Hugh, he has emboldened them. The only way to deter the Ayatollahs is to scare them straight or to kill them dead. This is exactly what Ronald Reagan did in 1988 during the so-called tanker wars when Iran was mining the Persian Gulf and impeding the flow of oil tankers out. Ronald Reagan sank half their navy. He was asked on the South Lawn on the way to Marine One if we were at war with Iran now, and he laughed at the prospect and said Iran wouldn't be so stupid. It's still the same Ayatollahs. Same thing happened with Donald Trump in 2020 when we killed their terrorist mastermind, Qasem Soleimani, in Iraq. Again, that scared Iran straight. There were no more attacks for the rest of the year, of the fourth year of the Trump presidency. What do we have here, though? We have, again, hesitant, halting, pinprick strikes against proxies. So, of course, all it's doing is teaching Iran that their proxy strategy works and to pour more fuel on the fire.
I want to close by asking you, do you think this will be a national security election? Always elections are ballot on people's economics, and they're very bad under Bidenomics. But the fear I have is that the world's going to be on fire by the time we get to November. It's already on fire. What do you think?
Well, national security elections tend to happen at a time of grave peril, and unfortunately that's what we face. We don't have the peace, prosperity, and stability we had for 4 years under Donald Trump. We have war breaking out all over the world. So I do think that national security questions are going to play a larger role in this election than they sometimes do. And that will very much be to Donald Trump's benefit because the American people want a strong president who protects Americans' interests, not a weak president like Joe Biden.